What's up, y'all? This is Brave, and I am back to review Tia Mowry, My Next Act. And I know that I missed reviewing last week, but I'm going to add a touch of that to this review, as well as talk about episode 4, okay? Now, last week, Tia decided that she wanted to throw a party for her daughter, right? And I love that, her daughter was turning, I believe, 6 years old. However, there were some things that stood out to me when it came to that birthday party. Number one was the fact that Tia kept talking about how she's doing this party on her own and, oh my God, I have to do this on my own. My question is, at this point, what is her and Corey's relationship? Because it's giving, they don't talk to each other. I'm so confused as to why this was not a joint birthday party. And what I mean by that, like, whenever we hear Corey talk, he always talks about how he loves his kids. He has no ill will towards Tia. However, let her tell it on this show is giving a total different vibe. Like, I'm just trying to figure out, why is Tia taking this on by herself? I'm pretty sure their dad, the kid's dad, would have wanted to be involved in Cairo's birthday. Like, are you selfishly doing this, Tia? Because I'm not understanding. Like, I just don't see him not wanting to be involved on his daughter's birthday, considering the way he talks about how much he loves his kids and how she talk about how she drop them off at their dad's house all the time. So I'm just trying to understand, because when it comes to Cairo's birthday, right? Of course, she throws this big party and she's overcompensating because she's like, the kids have just gone through a drastic change, and because Corey's not in the house anymore, she just wants everything to be so good. But here's my thing. Like I said, I feel like Tia is kind of selfish when it comes to this, because it's giving, because I'm filming this TV show, I'm going to throw this birthday party by myself when I really don't have to, because I'm pretty sure Corey don't want to be on your show. You don't want Corey on your show. However, you going to talk about him every 5 minutes, and you're not going to include him in the birthday party. That's what it's giving. I'm sorry. Then, another thing that stood out to me is the fact that her cousin Jerome come through, right? Now, we met Jerome back in the day when he was on their last reality show with her sister. However, I don't understand Tia. She over here talking about how this man was her anchor. However, he ain't even seen her child in 6 years, y'all. Cairo is turning 6, and your cousin, who you swear is your rock, ain't seen your child? That's crazy. In 6 years? That's a long time. I'm just like, girl, stop fronting and acting like y'all are close with it. Y'all really not. It's giving that y'all not close like that. And then on top of that, when she talked about how his mom passed away, right? She's like, anytime that I would call, she would hop on a plane for me. And I'm just like, Tia, I get it. You are a very needy person. I feel like because Tia has grown up in, Hollywood and having a TV show as a teenager, she is so used to people catering to her. Because I'm just thinking, there is not going to be a time where I'm already in my 40s. So let's say she was calling her auntie in her 30s, that her aunt is hopping on a plane in her 60s probably to come see about her, when it should really be the other way around. I'm sorry, I just don't move like that. Now, I have 2 more points about the last episode, and then I'm going to move on to episode 4. So, the fact that Tia, she went to go see Cairo was already in bed, okay? Cairo was ready to lay down and go to sleep. However, her mother came in or whatever, and I said, Tia, I just know you are not getting on Cairo's bed with your outside clothes on. I know you didn't. So she literally gets on Cairo's bed to show her the jewelry that she got her, because you all know she got a bracelet, I believe, made for Cairo. And baby, Cairo looked at that, closed that box, and put it back in the bag because what was she doing? About to go to bed. I said, Tia, I know that you were trying to get this scene, but baby, let the little girl go to bed. She was not here for it. And then lastly, Tia's friends found a guy for her. They found Charles, who is from Rhode Island. I'm not really sure if he's based in LA now or if he is still based in Rhode Island. He has one child, and he gave all the right answers, which further let him be able to meet Tia and go on a date with her. The date was cool. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he was definitely saying all the right things. I also feel like her friends did not prep her and say anything about this man. And I'm just wondering, does she know that man is 37 years old? Because he almost 10 years younger than her, okay? Just want to point that out. But let's talk about the latest episode, because there are some interesting things that happened, okay? So on episode 4, which is titled All Is Well, we see Tia, she's doing like a remote audition, and then here comes Sierra and Jerome, right? Baby, Tia couldn't even get the tripod to go down, okay? She couldn't even put the tripod together. I'm just like, she is so used to people doing things for her, because what happens? Her friends try to help her. So I find it hilarious that she leaves her cousin Jerome to babysit Cairo, right? Because she has a doctor's appointment. I said, oh, okay, cool. It's cool that, Jerome can come on by and watch Cairo for a little bit. So then we go on to see Jerome. He playing with Cairo or whatever. And he thinks that she would be great to work in entertainment. He's like, she has a big personality and all this stuff. And he later tells Tia about it. Like, Cairo can absolutely do commercials and stuff. However, Tia is a bit iffy about it, okay? Now, here's the thing. I will say this. All because a kid has a personality, that does not mean that they need to be in the entertainment business. Sorry to say it, but all because your kid has a personality, that does not mean they need to be on TV, because when you think about it, all because your kid has a big personality, a lot of times working in the TV industry, it minimizes their personality, and now you have to cater to whatever some adults have written in a script, and you're just acting it out. You know what I'm saying? So it's not exactly your kids showing off, how they can be funny and stuff like that. But nonetheless, Tia, she brings up her experience on Sister Sister, and I personally feel like that's a little bit different, because Tia was a teenager when she started Sister Sister, and Cairo is every bit of 6 years old. That's different than being in a commercial playing with dolls for a little bit of time, and you having a full TV show, and you're like 14, 15 years old. I think there's a little bit of a difference. So Jerome, he ends up asking her, like, oh, how did you and your sister get started in the industry? Or whatever. And Tia goes on to talk about how, her parents were super strict. However, they were able to do pageants and all these things. And they said they wanted to act, and their parents took them to California. Okay? And here's the thing. I know that Tia is sitting up here talking about how her parents were super strict because they made her, have chores. She probably had a curfew and all these things, because in their minds, her parents, they were raising their daughters to be normal kids. Like, they basically raised their kids to not be little assholes, because that's what a lot of child stars are. Those kids are little assholes, and your mother and father made sure that you realize that you are like everybody else. Okay? And I feel like that's why they were not on the path of drugs and alcohol and all the rest of the things that, some of the other child stars had to go through, because their parents were actually involved. And like, I personally, I don't think it's so much that their parents were strict, is that their style of parenting was something that you weren't a fan of, because at the time you couldn't wild out like the rest of the goddamn kids. Okay? You weren't going to the wild parties that were probably happening, or, you know what I'm saying? Certain things that was happening in Hollywood, your parents probably shut that right on down. Like, to me, I don't know. I just feel like maybe their parents were doing the best. They had an idea of what the best would have been for her and her sister. So that way they don't go down the wrong path. Okay? So then they talk about the fact that she didn't go to prom, right? And at this point I said, Tia, again, this is you having FOMO. Okay? Fear of missing out. Because when I think of it, baby, if I look back on prom, like, it was cute. It was fun in the moment, but, like, it wasn't the end-all, be-all. You know what I'm saying? Like, prom was cool, but it wasn't, like, the most spectacular thing that ever happened to me. I feel like that's something that, as Americans, we hype up sometimes. Because looking back on it, it wasn't the greatest thing that ever happened to me. You know what I'm saying? It was just something that happened while I was in high school. Now, as far as Tia goes, though, I'm just like, you were able to still accomplish and do a lot of amazing things as a teenager that most teenagers your age would have been like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, wish I could do it. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, again, this is Tia having FOMO because her relationship with Corey and how she wants this bad boy is giving FOMO. Her not going to the prom and still holding that against her parents is giving FOMO. But nonetheless, she talks about how, like, she didn't have, like, a lot of friends when, you know, she was on Sister. And honestly, y'all, I'm just gonna throw it out here. I feel like Tia is the problem when it comes to her not having friends. Follow me here. And I'm not saying that she doesn't have a good personality or she's not a cool girl. No, that's not what I'm saying. I feel like this was less about her upbringing and more about her dependency on her sister. Because when I think of all of, like, the young ladies who were acting back in the day, and there were a lot, okay? I don't understand how she didn't have friends. Like, where are your Hollywood friends? Y'all, Tia just got Hollywood friends. You hear me? Because I don't think her and Essence was really rocking tough like that. Like, they've known each other for years, but I don't think they were homegirls like that. Same thing with Gabrielle Union. I don't think that Tia was hanging out with Gabrielle Union tough like that until they had daughters that were close in age, if that makes sense. Like, Tia don't seem like she have Hollywood friends. Same thing as Tamara. Because y'all remember on their last show, Tamara had her bestie Andrea, and that was pretty much it. Like, all of their homegirls, some of them were like regular girls, but considering they've been in the industry for as long as they have, who is Tia and Tamara's friends? Like, you know how we see, like, Sanaa Lathan and Regina Hall, like, we know they locked in. There's just, like, little groups of Hollywood girls who are friends. But Tia and her sister have never been in those circles, and I always thought that was very interesting. But nonetheless, back to the situation at hand, you know, Tia wants to protect her daughter, and if Kyra wants to be an actress or do commercials or whatever, she can do that. Now, moving on, we see she talks to Charles again, and he asks her on a second date. Baby girl's all giddy like a teenager. I'm like, okay, this is cute for you. Now, this is where things get serious. So, Tia gets a call from her doctor, and because, you know, she had a mammogram earlier in the episode. So she gets this call from her doctor and her results are abnormal. So of course Tia, she breaks down, and I mean, honestly in that moment I felt so bad for her because nobody wants the phone call that says, you know, you have to get a biopsy because maybe you have cancer, you know, especially because she has children and they're young children, so she wants to, you know, see her kids grow up. Now, here's the thing. I understand that Tia was in shock. She was stressed out in that moment because of this news. And I get it that she wants to be there for her kids. But why did she say, there's only one parent in the house, as if Corey ain't around? This is why I'm so confused. I'm just like, Tia, what the fuck is going on? Like, is Corey around or not? Because I'm sorry, I get it, she going through a lot, but that's wild to say, like, there's only one parent in the house. As if that man is like a deadbeat. You know what I'm saying? I said, oh, okay, girl. But moving on, Tia goes home or whatever. So she hops in the shower, and after that, she just kind of has a moment where she's talking to the camera, and, she's like, my kids have already been through one major life-changing event, which would be their parents' divorce, and her possibly having cancer. That's just like too much. So now, she wants to really focus on being a great mom. And I was like, girl, you're already doing a great job. Come on now. Of course, we see Tia self-diagnosing, because that's what people do. They hop on Google and they try to figure out what is wrong with them. However, you're only going to get the right results when you actually go to the doctor and get proper testing. Okay? So after that, her and Sierra, they end up going to lunch with Natasha and Elena. Now, for me, I wish that this scene would have just been Tia and Elena. And the reason why I feel that way is because Elena had already been through having cancer and beating it. So I would have rather this just been a conversation between her and Elena. I don't need Sierra here, don't need Natasha. Because the only thing Natasha wants to talk about is the fact that, Tia, when are you going on your next date with Charles? Okay? Now, moving on, we do see that Tia, she went and got her biopsy or whatever, and, her cousin Jerome went with her. Now, when they were in that car ride, I said, Tia, you're wildin'. Because, number one, they're in the car, and she's like, oh my gosh, I have to go in the room by myself. And Jerome is like, girl, relax, because we already knew that you was going to have to go in this room by yourself. Cut it out. So then, here's the thing. She drives past the children's hospital, and she gonna say, oh my God, I did 24 hours of volunteer work here. I'm sorry, all volunteer work is appreciated. However, the fact that she said 24 hours as if that was like 2,400 hours or 240 hours, like, Tia, like, for real, you did what, 3 8-hour shifts? Oh, I'm sorry, you were so busy, so I'm going to assume you probably did 6 4-hour shifts at the children's hospital? Girl, bye. Like, I'm sorry, the volunteer work is absolutely appreciated, but she made it sound like she did so much. I'm just like, Tia, okay, girl. So, next thing you know, she goes to get her biopsy or whatever, and then she also meets with a cancer survivor and her friend Elena. So, next thing you know, we see her getting ready for her date or whatever. She was looking all cute, and then when she comes downstairs, Cairo is there, as well as her cousin Jerome. Now, her cousin Jerome is watching Cairo yet again, and I said, now hold up, Tia. Because who watches your child when Jerome ain't here? He did not come all the way to LA to be a babysitter, okay? Don't have him watch this child every episode. Now, moving on. She goes on this date, right? And we learn that he sent her flowers, and that's such a nice gesture. They're just having a conversation or whatever. And she wants him to tell her about his daughter and all these things. And, according to him, the daughter lives with her mom or whatever. And then she just keeps shooting out questions like, well, what type of music do you listen to when you work out? And what's the best place that you've traveled? So this is the thing. He told her that the best place that he traveled was a refugee camp in Kenya, right? Now, in her confessional, she's like, he's supportive and he gives back. And, of course, that's a great thing. Now, my question was, what are his questions for her? Like, I'm going to need for her to open up about, how he can get to know her. Not just him, not just you getting to know him. A conversation goes both ways. Now, this is her opening up, I guess, a little bit, but I feel like she could have kept it to herself. And here's why. This girl opens up about, her health scare, her possibly having cancer, her getting a biopsy, the whole 9 yards, right? Now, keep in mind, she don't have the results, right? However, she says that she's going to be speaking at an event for women who have gone through cancer. Excuse me? That makes no sense. Like, I'm sorry. I just don't think that Tia needs to be speaking to women who have probably actually went through cancer, talking about some, yeah, I had something abnormal, but I ain't got my results back. Like, girl, what? Or you get your results back and you find out that there's nothing wrong. What are you going to get on the mic and tell these people? Like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like this is just not the best space for Tia to open up and be like, ooh, I almost had cancer. Like, that's kind of like a woe is me moment. Instead of someone who actually went through cancer telling their testimony. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, I also find that interesting because she only brought that up after he talked about being in a refugee camp. It was giving my story has to be better than yours, but I digress. So we see Jerome, Cairo, and Tia. He's trying to lighten the mood because he knows that she's going to get her results. And of course, everything came back clear. Okay? Because Tia does not have cancer. Now, we get to this event, y'all. Tia goes to the cancer event. She's taking photos with people. It's all cool. And Charles, he actually shows up so that way he can support Tia. I thought, okay, that's cool. So, here's the thing. Before she can even get up there and say her speech, her, Sierra, and a couple other people, they get stuck on the elevator. I said, baby, that was a sign from God. That Tia, you don't need to be saying no speech because you don't have cancer. You did not go through cancer. Relax. But y'all, that was the episode. How are y'all feeling about Tia and her next act? Like, for real, how y'all feeling about it? Go ahead and let me know in the comment section. You can go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I will talk to you in my next review. Bye, guys.